You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production. The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. This show contains information about injuries to riders competing in AMA Supercross, AMA Motocross, MXGP, Oz Pro MX, and other international moto events. The information discussed may be unsettling to some listeners. It might be incomplete or based on medical opinions due to riders tending to hide the details of their injuries. We are here to explain the information and increase injury understanding and visibility for the fans. There might be coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If any of this offends you, turn us off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
That's right, Moto fans, I'm not a doctor, but I am a physiotherapist, and this is episode 41 of the AlwaysMoto podcast. I'm your host, David Hogan. As always, I'll be joined later in this show by the AlwaysMoto Contractor, Benek. Welcome to the AlwaysMoto podcast. We're in the depths of the clinic having strapping tape thrown wherever it'll stick, because that's what physios do, according to a few people I've spoken to lately. As always on the show, we'll be going through all things injury in moto, because injuries are a part of moto, unfortunately, and that's our hashtag. This week on the show, we'll be talking SuperMotocross opener at Anaheim 1, AlwaysMoto Fantasy League, the SuperMotocross emergency department update with some A1 injury history that we'll go through. We catch up with Julien Benek of Team PRMX and chat about his preseason training and his past injuries. But bringing us the show today is Polar Australia. Polar Australia and their incredible range of activity tracking and heart rate monitors, from the H10 chest strap and their top-of-the-line GPS Multisport watch, the Polar Grit X Pro that I have right here on my wrist, and we're getting very close to having this release of the AlwaysMoto inspection that we're going to have on this product here very soon on Full Noise. So be sure to check that out. But those Polar Australia products are top-notch. You should get yourself one. Thanks also to Slantboard Guy. Don't forget we have that affiliate deal in place with them. Slantboard Guy has offered 10% discount for AlwaysMoto podcast listeners. So if you want to get your squats on point in the gym, improve your strength, your standing technique on your bike with stronger legs, this simple piece of equipment is for you. Use the code AlwaysMoto in lowercase at checkout. Check the link in the show notes or in our bio on Instagram for your way to get to their shop and purchase that product. Bit of an update there as well for December and January. December obviously is gone now. We're into January, people. It's 2023. The Slantboard Guy is offering a 15% discount. So no better time than now to get over there and purchase a slant board from Slantboard Guy. As always on this show, we still need your direct support as well to keep this show going. We have our merch available to help support the show. We have our AlwaysMoto t-shirts available. Now, I did a little preview of this shirt on my Instagram story today, so check that out. You'll see that shirt there. Very good looking shirt. I might not wear it as well as I should, but it's a very good looking shirt. The shirts are $25 plus postage and handling, and that's Australian dollars. We have international drop ships set up, so for our US listeners, please get in touch. We can get that shirt to you quick and easy. And they are black t-shirts with the AlwaysMoto logo front and center. But like I said, check out the Instagram story to see that shirt design in action on this rig that is here at the moment, still recovering post-surgery. Show us your support for the podcast and get that t-shirt and rock it at the races. Email us at alwaysmoto2019@gmail.com. Put t-shirt order in the subject line and send the size you want, and we'll be in touch regarding payment via PayPal. Speaking of PayPal, if you want to support the show, send us a donation via the AlwaysMoto PayPal account. Drop a message or a question in the notes and we'll read it out on the show. But that's enough talk for this intro. Let's jump into the show. SuperMotocross Talk. A1 is this weekend. It's only a few days away. I can't wait. I've been waiting for it now for a couple of weeks. Since what? Since the end of World Supercross there, which was actually November, wasn't it? End of November or something thereabouts. So it's been a few weeks. We obviously still had the Australian Supercross, which kept us going there for a little bit into December, but it's been a quiet couple of weeks now. We're looking forward to the SuperMotocross series kicking off here at Anaheim 1. I won't be there, unfortunately. I'm still post-surgery. I'm still on crutches, had those plates and screws pulled out of my hip, and they were significantly bigger than I thought they would be, actually. Bit of a funny story there. I got the big rod out of not a big rod, but it's a big bolt that goes in, or screw. I keep saying the wrong words here, but the big screw type thing with a retaining plate that went into the neck of my femur. And it was quite bigger than I thought it was. It was actually nearly 12 to 15 mil in diameter at its biggest point, and that was inside the neck of the femur. So it was quite a big hole that came out. As I said to my physio friend who's been looking after me and helping me with the stuff that I can't do to myself as a physio, I said that the surgeon filled my hole, which was quite funny because he did fill it, but he filled it with a synthetic bone graft, so it wasn't quite how we were putting it. But you get the innuendo if you understand that meaning. So look, we're still recovering. We won't be at Anaheim 1, but I have been at Anaheim 1 in the past. Back in 2010, I was able to be there and see Ryan Dungey and James Stewart go head-to-head in Dungey's rookie race for the 450 class there, which was pretty cool. James Stewart ran him down in the end, but the Anaheim 1 pits is like almost nothing else that you've seen. The only better one that I could describe was when I was in Vegas for one of the finales in 2008. The pits there were insane. They were massive. Now, Anaheim isn't quite a massive pit, but there is a lot going on in that Anaheim 1 pit. All the teams are there. Everything's new and shiny. There's lots of industry people there with their products on display. There's big monsters set up in their pit party that they have. They usually have a big floor with a DJ set up and an upstairs area, and you can get your free cans of Monster. It's a really cool event to be at. Disappointed I couldn't be there this year because of this injury, but we'll be at some things later in the year, which we'll allude to later in further episodes as we get closer to being fit and healthy. We'll talk about that later on, but we've got a plan to be in the US later in the year, and we'll let that one out of the bag later on. But Anaheim 1, everybody's fit, everybody's ready to go, everybody can't wait. And it's been an interesting lead up this week. Obviously, all the rain that you would have seen if you've been following all the pit guys' social media over there, they've been struggling to find a dry piece of ground to do some practice laps on this week in California. A few of them have been trying to go to that Hemet SX track, and that's been wet, and I don't think anybody did too many laps around there. They've all seemed to have migrated out to Carson Mumford's place, which is the old Alessi facility out in the high Des there, because the Des obviously doesn't rain too much. And they seem to have got a few laps in today, I believe, which will be yesterday their time when you finally hear this. But they've all got some laps in there. There will be no press day release either this year in terms of track time, because the track is all undercover. They've had to cover that track up because of the weather to try and make sure that the track is actually raceable this Saturday night in Anaheim there. So not too much track time. And at this stage, we'll have to see if they get more weather. This could be a really shotty start to the season for a lot of people, because there might not be too many laps done on this track. As in a practice and qualifying sessions, they might only get one session on the track to drop a time in for each group, the A's, the B's and the C's for their qualifying sessions, because they'll try and keep down that track time so that they don't have to do too much prep to it to make the night show possible and rideable. Because as soon as they open those covers up and they open the track up to the elements, anything could happen. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about it a little bit later on in the fantasy bit, but keep the weather conditions front of mind. Keep an eye on those social posts, and if it's wet as the day goes on, you might want to change your fantasy team according to the conditions. But see how that works out for you and what team you want to put out there for A1. I just want 8 is great, and you'll hear that in the fantasy podcast section later on. All right, I think that's enough talk for me. I don't want to get too deep into all the ins and outs of the, who's going to win and all that sort of stuff. That's not my jam. We're here in the injury department. We're going to do fantasy next for our AlwaysMoto Fantasy League, and then we're going to drop into the emergency department section and talk about some historical injuries that have happened back at A1s over the last few years. And give you a little insight into that, which will be cool. I don't know if many of you will have heard that sort of stuff before. I've been building some background injuries, some back backdated injury stats over the last few weeks, and I'm trying to continue to build that. And I'll hopefully at some point during this Supercross season have finished all the Supercross between 2011 and now, and I'll be able to bring some trends and stats to you listeners out there that you might be interested in to hear how Supercross has evolved on the injury front over the previous years. So let's jump over. We'll get the AlwaysMoto Contractor on the line, and let's talk AlwaysMoto Fantasy on PRMX Fantasy for 2023.
Hi there, my name is Eldon Baker, and I'm from the Baker's Factory, and you're listening to AlwaysMoto.
Right, let's jump into the PRMX Fantasy Talk and our AlwaysMoto Fantasy League. We are cracking off here in a couple of days for Anaheim 1 with the league. We've got some new sponsors on board. We've also got our, on the line to talk with us about this fantasy league is our AlwaysMoto Contractor, who's still waiting for payment. But he's ready to go for A1, aren't you, Benny?
Oh yeah, we're ready. It's here, and we're excited.
Excited to smack your head against the wall, because that's usually what I do about halfway through the night. So or afternoon our time. So yeah.
Yeah, it's A1's always exciting, and when you play fantasy, it's just that little bit more engaging. So yeah, there might be some head banging, or there might be some fist pumping. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, isn't that the whole from the pulp guys? That's where they go 8 is great, 7 sucks, and 6 is dicks, or something along those lines. So that's usually about how it goes. So
yeah, the only one you want is 8 is great, but if you don't worry, sometimes I've only had 5, so it can be good or it can be bad.
That wouldn't have been a head banging. That would have been a head through the wall moment, I think.
No, that was a phone out the window moment.
Yeah, just call up the supplier. I need another one of these bricks you just handed me. It went flying. Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
All good. Well, let's jump into the teams and stuff here, but we'll quickly just drop a bit about the sponsors and stuff. So we've got a few people that we've mentioned already last episode on board, but as of today, I've managed to sign up 2 more. So we're adding to our prizes, going a bit further into the prizes here, which is awesome. So just a reminder, we've got Coastal Motorcycle Centre on with some like gift cards as such, so some in-store credit. We've got Goat Brand MX with some knee brace socks. We've got Thor Australia with a set of goggles. We've got Michelin Australia with a front and rear 21, 19 or 18-inch tubes. We've now got on board Ringmaster Images, who's a graphics company in Australia. They've also got a glove that they do in conjunction with Bolt Everywhere, and they're going to give us a set of gloves to give away. And we've also now got Helltech Australia, who I mentioned last episode about their YouTube videos where they're cutting open helmets. They are hoping they're getting their prototype helmet sensors in the next few days. They're going to test those, and they're hoping to have those sensors to market in the near future. So they're hoping by the end of the Supercross series, they'll be able to give away one of the helmet sensors as one of the prizes in the fantasy league. So that's some pretty cool stuff there. Not bad for a little 2-bit has-been fantasy league, eh, Benny?
Yeah, no, it's good to see these companies come on board, and you've gone from having just a few last year, and the numbers are up this year, and it just gives the players something to actually play for.
Yeah, well, I like the fact too that it's free. Like you don't have to pay. Like you can just sign up on Pulp and get an account. You don't have to pay for their entry to the main game as such. You can just join our league with the password injury in lowercase, and you're in, and you got a chance at winning something.
Yeah, that's right. And I think we said it a few weeks ago. I was lucky enough to get some gear from the false neutral guys, which I think unfortunately they've ended their journey. But I was lucky enough to get some stuff from them. So when it rocks up in the mail, you just get a little bit excited, and yeah.
It's a pretty cool feeling, isn't it, getting something for free? So no, it's an awesome thing. But yeah, look, all those companies, and look, a special mention to, like you said, False Neutral there. Yeah, they have actually gone out of business, unfortunately. But they were involved with us last year. But we have increased in numbers. We're into the 60s now for players, which is awesome. And just a reminder to anyone listening, if your username isn't the same on Pulp MX as it is on Instagram, send me a DM so that with your details of your username on the Fantasy League and what it is in obviously, if you send me a DM, I'll know what it is on Instagram. So we can tag you if you win something and something, we can get in touch with you. Otherwise, if we just have a name in the league and I've got no idea who it is and I can't quickly, type it into Instagram and find it, well, shit happens, we'll reissue your prize to somebody else. So
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
it is fair, mate. You got to get these things out somehow, and we can't wait for you forever. So that's what we've got to do at times. But let's jump into the teams. All right. So Benny, let's go. What's your 250 team for Anaheim 1?
So my Thursday team. So first person is Max Dansty, and after seeing him this year on the 250 in the Oz Supercross Championship, it's hard to go past. He was just, he won the championship. I think he only lost 1 or 2 races the whole time. So it's hard to go against him. But like I think I said the other week, it'll be interesting to see how he goes against Jet and Faulkner and the rest of them. But yeah, he's on my team for now, I think, and we'll watch qualifying and see. But I'm pretty sure he's going to stay there.
Now he's a 0 handicap too, so he's got to just get 10th or better to get double points because he's not an all-star. So yeah, you would think he's going to get more than 10th, right?
Yeah, you would think. I reckon he should be 7, probably between 7 and 10. He could be, just that little bit higher, but you never know. He might surprise us all.
Yeah, I think he's somewhere. I actually think maybe end of like 5th, 6th is his ceiling at the moment, unless there's a couple of crashes, which you never know for Anaheim 1. But yeah, not a bad pick. All right. Who else?
The only problem with that is his starts. His starts in the Oz Supercross Championship weren't great, and over there, that's one thing that you really need. So. He does well at coming through the pack, but yeah, you just need that start.
Yeah, definitely. All right, who else on the team?
Next person I've got is Derek Kelly. Had a solid year last year, and he's a 4, so we'll see how he goes in qualifying and that. But yeah, I think he'll stay there as well.
Okay, all right. And next,
and for now is Enzo Lopes. I'm not sure if he's going to stay there. He's one of those people that I'm not 100% sure about. He just come back from injury and he's been on the bike for a bit, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on him. I think it'll be between him and probably Nicoletti. That'll be the swap out. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I think Enzo from the injury side of things, I think should be okay given the amount of bike time we've seen him getting in those Club MX YouTube series videos. So I think the injury side of things are right. I'm just not sold on Enzo, with a 1 handicap and the field that we've got. I don't know. I'm not sold on that one. But anyway, see where you get to on Sunday morning.
That's why I said he's the only one that I'm not really confident about. But yeah, we'll see how he's traveling.
All right. Now that was 3, 4 for you. 3.
Yeah. So my all-star is Jet. I mean, you can't not pick him. It's just it doesn't matter where he races, what he races. You can't not pick him. And with East, I'll pick probably Hunter, I reckon, as well. Mm-hmm. Just until those two show me otherwise, they'll be my picks on the off weeks that we can pick them.
All right. Well, I've gone a little differently, a couple of similar ones, but for my All-Star, I went Austin Faulkner because he's a 3, and I figured there's no way in the world he's getting worse than 4th. So at least then you're like getting pretty close to max points for the All-Star.
Yeah, I reckon you're right. He did have a little bit of time off, so I don't know whether those not getting the gate drops is going to affect him. But
still, like I can't see him going past 4th.
It's Austin Faulkner. You can't, I can't see him getting worse than 5th unless he has a crash or him and Jet or someone come together. But yeah, no, he was one that I looked at, but I can't go against Jet.
Yeah, no. So I've playing it a bit more safer. I'm trying to go for the 8 is great comment here. I'm just trying to get points on the board at round 1. I don't want to dig a massive hole at the beginning. So I've gone Faulkner. I've gone Derek Kelly for the same sort of things that you said before. He's a 4 handicap. I think you can at least get, you're working him to get somewhere 10 to 14 in that range. I'm pretty sure he can pull that off. And especially after we spoke to him last week on the episode for the podcast, he sounded pretty confident and he's been looking pretty good on the video. So yeah, couldn't go past Derek Kelly. I've picked Nicoletti. I'm not sure on that one. I think that one might come or go depending on what we see on Sunday morning. And the other one I've gone as well is Robbie Wageman. And I'm not sold on that one either. I've got to see qualifying for those two. We'll wait and see.
Well, Wageman usually does well, but I think he's just swapped teams, hasn't he?
He has, and that's why I'm sort of 50-50
yeah.
on him. I'm not sure. I'm not sold on it. Like, I looked up his result for last year's Anaheim 1, and I think it was like 8th or 9th, and that gave me like some pretty confidence in it. But then I'm like, he's changed to Bar X, and I'm just not 100% yet on if he's comfortable on that. So I'll have to see what practice looks like. But if practice looks all right, it'll stay.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's fair. And with Nicoletti too, he did really well at the World Supercross Championship. And we watched him in Melbourne, and he was riding well. I think he did come off once, but Benek, I think he usually rides the east. So we'll see how he goes on the west.
Yeah, that one's a different one, eh? Like, so yeah, that one I'm not too sold on. I just want to make sure that I got guys in the main event. That's what I'm going for. 8 is great. Just 8 is great.
Yes.
All right, 450 time.
And for the people listening, like we said, this is a Thursday team. So if you look at our teams on Sunday and go, hey, they said they were picking this bloke, it's always going to change. So
well, we should mention too, like for the league side of things, we're going to try and put up our teams before lockout. So if you've got to follow on the AlwaysMoto page, and you'll see the teams coming up. And that should be close to what our last minute pick is. But we're also for everyone in the league, anyone actually sharing their team or the result that they get afterwards, if they tag AlwaysMoto and hashtag AlwaysMoto Fantasy League, we can then see that. And the person who does that the most across the season, we've got another prize that I'm giving away for that person at the end of the season. So putting up your teams, guys and girls. But you can also see ours. Hopefully Sunday morning before lockout, you'll be seeing mine and you'll be seeing Benny's here. So yeah.
Yep.
All right, 450s. What do we got?
All right, so you know that I'm a big AC fan, and at 1, I know it's risky. I know he's missed a lot of time, but I'm picking him. Good starter. I know he hasn't had the gate drops, but I think if you can last year pretty much whole shot and then lead a few laps with a bung shoulder, I think when you're back to your probably 90%, 95%, I think he's got a fair chance of, at least being in the 10.
You can't see him outside the 10, and I've picked him for that reason too.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a podium. It'd be nice to see, and I think everyone wants to see him do well. It's been such a shitty couple of years for him, and we really want to see him get up there. So I've picked him. So we'll see how it goes.
I also went for AC for the other reason that he's not an all-star this week, and if he gets a half decent result at round 1, he will be. So, and I probably wouldn't pick him then as an all-star. So I figure this week's the week you want to get him.
Yeah, that was my reasoning too. And last year I held on. I was waiting for his shoulder to get better, and then I was going to pick him, and it just never made it. So this year he's getting the first pick.
Awesome. All right, who else is on the team?
I got Christian Craig.
Yep.
He is a rookie, but he does have 11 or 12, I think, races in the 450 class. And he's raced the last 2 seasons of motocross on the 450, so he hasn't got that. No one's going to worry him. Like, he's not, look, there's Eli Tomac or someone, it's not going to worry him. Another thing, he's a good starter as well. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, I was thinking about Christian, 0 handicap. You can't see him outside the top 10, and given that he has done these races before in the class. But when you sent me your team earlier, I'm like, I've got to pick something different here because I can't just keep picking, too closely. So I just went somewhere else.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, who else you got?
Now I've got Joey Savacci. So he said the other day that he's going to be racing, I think, the first 8 with the Rick Ware Racing on the pro circuit bike that he had at World Supercross Championship, and he did really well. So, and I think also that he should have a factory ride. He shouldn't really be in the position that he's in, but I really want to see him do well because I think he deserves it. So, yeah, I've got him at a 3.
Yeah. Now, I thought about him too, and then I saw you picked him, and one, I didn't pick him for that reason again. But the other reason I didn't pick him, I had this crazy thought, and this might change on race day at this stage, right? If you've seen all the weather that's going on over in Anaheim and the track's covered and it's water and stuff, if he's on that Rick Ware bike, and they're saying that he's going to be out of like a motorhome or something with a trailer, who and how many people are there with him to help him if it's a mud race?
Yeah, that's right.
So if it's a mud race and he, say he has an engine failure or something, and he's got to go to the LCQ, or even just to clean the bike up, and they don't get it cleaned well enough, and they jam something in a brake, and he loses a rear brake for the main event. I just was like, yeah, I'll see what the track's like. So I didn't put him on the team at this point, but he should be a good pick. But I'm thinking about him for round 3.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about that. What you just said, because yes, that is true. He's going to be probably in the motorhome. But yeah, we'll see how the weather plays out. But yeah, I think he'll be staying.
All right. Yep. All right. Last pick for you. Who's in?
But maybe you need to maybe you need to start sending me yours first, because I'll just pick the same no matter what.
Look,
if I'm going them, I'm going them.
The perks have been, boss man. Let's say, I'm not going to play my cards out. I'm going to wait and hold them.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, last pick, man. Who you got?
I'm going Kenny. The off season that he's just had. He's refreshed. He's ready to go. He's got a new bike. He won A1 last year. He's a 4. You can't not choose him.
You can.
Although it won't surprise me though. Like, he could come out and win, and it wouldn't surprise me. But he could also be way back, or something happened, and that also wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, and I think he'll probably be a very high pick trend. But yeah, I think I'll stick with it, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right. We'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, good old kickstart Kenny. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
I would like to pick him.
He's made that nickname himself. So
well, he has. He's owning it. I'm going to wait on him. I just want to see one round with the team and see what happens. So, but yeah, he would be good from round 1, but he's still good sort of to round 5 or 6 before he starts to usually fade off. So we'll see. But, all right, so my team, I did AC as well. When you're talking Joe Savacci, I flipped him out for Colt Nichols because I figured they're going to be about the same, but Colt's on HRC. So I thought that was safe. He's a 3 handicap. Hold on, I'll scroll back down. Savacci was a
3.
He's a 3 as well. That's why I sort of went HRC bike. Just thought that would be, he's got all the resources there. Course of the mud scenario potentially at this point in the week, I picked Aaron Plessinger.
Yep.
And then
fair.
And then for my all-star, I went Malcolm Stewart because he's a 3. And I figured he had some good experience at an Anaheim in the mud opener a couple of years ago when he was on Moto Concepts. And he's a 3. And after last year and another boot camp season with Alden, I figured he's got to be close to getting at least 4th and getting decent points. So that's where I went.
Yeah, he did really well last year. He got 3rd in the championship, but that knee injury from the hit from Barsha missed out on a bit of motocross. But yeah, he did really well. So yeah, that's not a bad pick also. There's not much difference between that and Kenny on a 4.
No, they're about the same, eh? So yeah, I sort of thought that I was tossing up basically my same thought process, like the same ones that you've picked. I was thinking about them the whole time, but I've just gone the tiny bit left to just, 1, be different, but 2, I just sort of thought they were a tiny bit safer. And like I keep saying, I'm trying to get 8. I just want freaking 8.
Yeah. And with Colt, I'd be interested to see. Apparently, they're not doing press day because that's when it's supposed to be really bad weather. So from the videos I've seen, he looks all right, but I'd probably like to see him at press day before I pulled the trigger on that, but he might come out and surprise us too. You never know. He is a good Supercross rider. He's the only person to beat Jet to a championship in the last few years. So, we'll see how he goes.
Can you really see like a guy of Colt's level on a HRC bike? Can you really see him, much past 10th?
Well, depends. Kenny wasn't happy with the bike. He said that continuously, and I know Chase and Colt are a bit more setup friendly. So hopefully they've got it to a point where it is really good for the both of them. But there's a lot of people in front of him too. So as a rookie as well, I'm not 100% sure, but like I said, he might come out and surprise us first round. So if he does well, I'll tip my hat to you next week and I'll say, yep, good pick.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. we could be going good pick, or we could be going, that was stupid. Don't do that ever again.
Yeah.
Well, that's the teams right for now. I'm not doing first to the finish line. I don't know about you, but I'm not doing that at round one because it's too unpredictable. Yep, good.
First week, I'm giving that a miss.
Yep, definitely. So we'll see how this all plays out. Well, like we said, we've got 60 odd in the league at this stage. We'll probably have a few more by the time race one kicks off. We're going to keep the league open for entries to join into until February. So you've got the first 4 rounds, I think it is, first 4 rounds thereabouts, to still jump into the league and be eligible for the prizes. You must be following all those brands' social pages, the Instagrams. If you're not on Instagrams, they're Facebooks, whatever. Either one works. And then you're eligible for the prizes, and we'll check that before we go. But look, all those companies, so Coastal Motorcycle Centre, Goat Brand MX, Thor Motocross Australia, Michelin Australia, Ringmaster Images, and Helltech Australia, thank you for being on board. But that's our fantasy bit before A1. Thanks for giving out your team, Benny, and all those secrets.
Yeah, no, that's all right. And like I said before, just remember they're subject to change.
There's an asterisk at the end of that comment, yeah. All good. All right, let's leave that fantasy section there, and we'll be back with more in just a sec.
This is Derek Kelly, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto Podcast.
All right, guys and girls, we're back. More of the show coming here. We're into the emergency department list. We've still got our AlwaysMoto Podcast contractor man on the line with us. Benny's still here, aren't you, Benny?
Yep, I'm still here.
All right, so we are going to jump into some emergency department list talk, which we will hit our little intro for. Oops, that's the wrong one. That didn't work. Sometimes you just got to go with the flow and just try again. There we go. The emergency
That sounds more like it.
All the injuries, all the gory details, and when they'll be back on track. It's the list you really don't want to be on. You really don't want to be on this list. Now, we're just going to quickly drop over this list. There's been no additions to the list at this stage that we know about before Anaheim 1, but that could change in the next few days when everybody starts to congregate at Anaheim with the trucks and everything. So let's just keep an eye on that. Stay up to date on the social pages. Check out the emergency department list that we'll type up for Full Noise, which will come out on probably Friday or Saturday Australian time. And that'll check these things. But just a reminder of the ones we've gone through previously. It was Carson Mumford with the wrist fracture, Justin Rodbell with the Achilles rupture, Brandon Hartraft with the back injuries and multiple other injuries there, Kyle Greason with the burst fracture in his back as well. I've actually spoken to Kyle, Benny. I've got him lined up for an interview for next week's show, so that'll be cool.
Yep.
And then March Branks with the wrist fracture, and we're going to ride East Coast. Noah Viney with a wrist fracture. Jeremy Martin with that getting banged up moment that we were talking about on last episode, and he'll be on the East Coast. And we still have no info on Vince Freeze, but there is some weird talkings that he might not be racing straight away. And I haven't checked entry lists or anything. I've tried to check in with Tony Alessi. No response. It's crickets over there. We'll see what happens on the track on day one. But
I did hear that there might be a possibility he's going east.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I would think that the guys with the East, they're going to be trying to prepare that team more for the World Supercross stuff that'll be coming up not too long after that. So I don't know on that one, I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what I wanted to go through and just get sort of your reaction to these things, Benny, was some A1 injuries of the past. So Would it surprise you to know that there has been at least 3 injuries at every opening round since 2011?
Yeah, right.
And
That's interesting.
we're talking 3 major injuries usually here. So things like in 2011, Jimmy Albertson in practice on his 3rd lap did an ACL. 3rd lap.
Yep.
Like 3 laps of a season and he's done.
Yeah. That's that's horrible.
Well, and then same year, Will Hahn did a T5 fracture, so his thoracic vertebrae fractured, and also in practice, and missed the whole season.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, ACLs seem to be common at the opening round. So Jimmy Albertson in 2011, James Stewart in 2013, still raced part of the season there, but he did his ACL in practice at Anaheim 1 too.
Yeah, right.
And there's a bit of a theory behind that one. So I think there's another. Yeah, there is. So Jess Pettis in 2021 did an ACL as well.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And he had another knee injury. I think he actually had another one at the opening round as well. I'm just trying to check that. I think that was 2019, I think. But he also went out. He went out twice. But yeah, that was terrible for him. But there's a bit of a theory behind that one with ACLs. At the early stage of the season, they're not strong enough. As in, they haven't had the loading that they needed to be to thicken over the season and get strong enough, and that they then just, because of that first rupture, like that first impact at a race pace, just makes them rupture.
Yeah, which that's understandable.
Yeah, it's just a natural thing. They actually, the ACL images, they actually when they image them on an MRI over a season, both from like other sports, say football or soccer, they'll actually see that the like a muscle would, it gets stronger and it grows in size. The ACL does the same thing. It actually gets thicker, which means it's getting stronger across the season. So it's less likely to get an injury later in the season than it is at the beginning, and that's why we see a few of these happen at the opening round.
Yeah, so the people that have done World Supercross and gone sort of straight into training, they should not be doing them.
Ideally, that would make sense. Yep, that would make perfect sense on that logic there. Yeah, man. Yep. So that they should be in a better position, and they should be in a better position generally because they've got more conditioning over a longer period. They haven't really had the break like some of these other guys do, where they take a couple of weeks off and then jump into a boot camp. So that would make sense. Now, the other interesting one that I've got listed in here is 2 injuries from Anaheim 1 that caused some missed time for Eli Tomac. So in 2014, Eli Tomac, in his first race in Heat 1 for a 450, he got a bruised shoulder and missed the next week at Phoenix.
And he was leading that race, yes?
I don't know about the Heat race, but the one that I think you're thinking of is 2018, when he fell over in the main, leading the race and bruised the shoulder and missed the next week as well. And
yes, I think that's, I
think he missed 2 weeks with that one. I think I'd have to check that one, but he missed multiple times there because that meant that he was basically out of the championship, and that's when Jason Anderson was able to just sort of cruise along the second half of the season because he had a big gap on Tomac and Marvin, because Marvin also had his issues that year when he dislocated a shoulder, I think the week after Anaheim 1 or 2. It was thereabouts. But anyway, so Eli has had a bit of a checkered history with A1.
Yeah, and then he finished 7th last year.
Well, that's not to mention the odd results that he gets at A1, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's an interesting one. I found that quite interesting for the defending champ, that Anaheim 1 is definitely not the place you probably, from a fantasy point of view that we just talked about earlier, you probably don't want to be picking him at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I mean, after the year he had last year, I wouldn't disagree with anyone who wanted to pick him. But there's some sketchy results at A1, and that's probably enough to put me away for later in the season.
Yeah, no, look, it's just an interesting thing that obviously something has, whether those 2 incidents at Anaheim 1 has changed his approach to Anaheim 1, and that's maybe where he's not pushing it and getting those dodgy, 6, 7, 8s, whatever it is that he's gotten, and he's looking towards the big picture of the championship, but he's definitely doing something different at Anaheim 1.
Yeah, and also probably should have said this before, but new bike this year, first race. It's probably another reason to just save his pick for later on, just in case.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, that's one of those weird things as well that could add to this odd results from Eli Tomac. So yeah, it's probably not the one you want to be picking from fantasy purposes. But anyway, his injury bits there as well make it for an interesting part. So those pre-history there for him makes this just a little bit interesting in terms of where this could go for his title defense this year, because he hasn't defended a title in Supercross before. This will be the first time if he does, because he lost it in the middle there. They've had year on, year off for the champs in the last few years.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, so that was our little look back into Anaheim 1 past injuries. Thought that'd just be a little bit different content there for you guys and girls. But, yeah, let's take a quick break here on the show, and we'll come back with our interview with Julien Benek.
Hey, I'm Luke Neese, riding for the SGB Honda team, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, joining us on this episode of the AlwaysMoto podcast, heading into Anaheim 1. We've got a guest who's coming, maybe making a bit of a return from injury, a bit of a delayed thing, but he did get injured back last Supercross season. He's riding for Team PRMX. He's number 500. 500, that didn't come out quite right. Number 500 there. It's Julien Benek. How are we doing, Julien?
I'm doing pretty good. Yourself?
Good, mate. Good, mate. I'm looking forward to the weekend, I gather, for yourself.
Yeah, me too. I'm psyched up for this weekend. I'm feeling good and strong and healthy and ready to start racing.
Well, that's what we want to hear, considering the way Supercross ended for you last year. Probably not the best way to go out with an injury, but yeah, sounds like you're all fit and healthy and ready to go again, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been putting in a lot of hours on the spin bike and in the gym and riding lots, so I feel like I'm ready to give everyone a run for their money.
And you're saying, obviously, we've seen for most people following this, the weather's not great over in California at the moment, and you haven't been able to ride much this week, but you got a bit of a plan for tomorrow to break in a race bike at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's been raining basically every day down here, and all the main Supercross tracks are all closed down and flooded. So, I mean, yesterday we went and rode out in the hills and just trying to get some seat time, but yeah, as of right now, we're just trying to ride wherever we can. We're gonna go to Carson Mumford's tomorrow, and I'm going to break in my race bike and hopefully get dialed in for A1.
Yeah, definitely. That's obviously the important thing, isn't it? To get the race bike at least used once before you throw it out on the track at A1.
Yeah, break the frame and, get a little bit used to the bike.
Yeah, definitely. So how is the leg? You broke a tib fib back at Daytona last year. That's usually a reasonably long recovery for it. How is the leg? How did things go after that point?
Well, I broke it, and then they did surgery 5 hours after I busted it, and then I went back to SOB and hung out for a couple of days, and then we flew home, and I was just hanging out and doing really nothing until I could submerge my leg in water, and then I think it was a month, and then I could start swimming. So I was doing that for a few weeks, and then slowly I started going to physiotherapy, getting my motion back, and he said I could probably start riding a bicycle again. So I started doing that, and just light pedaling and getting a feel for it again. And yeah, after that, I mean, once my leg was somewhat healed, I had to start racing again for the Canadian outdoors. So I didn't really get the full recovery that I wanted, but it was good enough to the point where it didn't hurt when I rode.
Yep.
So I figured I'd start my season earlier than what I expected to start it. And I mean, it was going good for a bit, and then I think third or fourth round into the Canadian stuff, what did I do? I busted my collarbone and got a concussion at Gopher Dunes practicing.
Yep.
And then waited a few weeks for that to heal, and then got back on the bike at Deschambault, and I was ripping. I just got my brand new 450, and I was going down this little steep downhill section at the track or at Deschambault, and I guess I can't remember what I did, but I dislocated my shoulder, and that put me out for another month and a bit. So that ended pretty much my outdoor season, and then I was just waiting to go to Supercross or to SOB to start training for Supercross.
Yeah.
And then, I got there, and it was like second day. It was early morning practice, and I went for this triple, and I definitely shouldn't have gone for it. It was still too muddy.
Okay.
And I nose picked it, got the bars to the gut, and I cut my liver and bruised my lungs and got a pretty gnarly concussion. And it only took me about 3 weeks to recover from that one, but that one was probably one of my most painful injuries.
Yeah, the
But,
liver injury
I mean-
wouldn't be pleasant.
No, that one sucked.
Did that
They
need
had to keep
surgery?
me in the hospital overnight too. So no, they were thinking about it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't bleeding
Okay.
much, so they figured it was just going to heal on its own. And lucky me, I got pretty lucky with that. Liver is the only one that heals on its own, like one of your internal organs.
Yeah, I know a little bit about this. I unfortunately lost a spleen about 6 months ago in a crash as well. So yeah, it's the liver. I bruised the liver as well. It recovers itself pretty good. But yeah, all the other bits and pieces, once you do something to them, you either get it cut out or you're pretty much stuffed on that side of things. So yeah, lucky on that one for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
So when was that? Was that like in October, or how long ago was this? Because that's, starting Supercross training. That's not a great way to start for yourself.
Yeah, I think I left to go to SOB in November, so it was like November 6th, November 7th.
Yeah. Wow, not that long ago, but obviously you bounced back from that pretty well by the sounds of it if you're ready to go racing.
Yeah, definitely. I was putting in the work, dude. Like, I was grinding every day, going to the gym and like when I could, because when you do your liver, you have to let your body like no like physical activity for like at least 3 weeks.
Yep.
And that was the hardest part about it, not being able to go on the spin bike and spin, or like I couldn't do anything. And like if I tried, the next day my stomach would be killing me. So wasn't a whole lot I could do for recovery, but sit there. So
yeah,
once I got back like somewhat healthy, I was really putting in the work and trying to catch up to all the other guys.
Yeah, so that's been a rough 6 or 8 months there for yourself of multiple different injuries across the body. And so how does the training go now? Are all of those things behind you, or do you have to modify what you're doing when you're training and even when you're riding? Have you changed your setup at all to accommodate any of this stuff?
Training, definitely, like, because my shoulders are kind of messed up now, I can't really do push-ups anymore, so I have substitute push-ups with like pull-ups or something other than push-ups.
Yep.
Like I'll use more like dumbbell free weights kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then riding, not a whole lot changed, to just try and be more careful and pay attention to my technique, like my foot positioning, and just try and make myself a better rider so I can avoid crashing.
Yeah, fair enough. So you didn't do anything
too often that happens.
Well, yeah, that's a problem for us. But like, you didn't do anything to your bar setup, like in terms of a bend change or a going from a twin wall to a cross barless sort of setup to get some more comfort in there. You didn't do anything like that?
No, not really. I just kind of changed up my riding style.
Okay.
Like I tried, like, it's kind of hard to explain, but like when you crash, you really start to realize why you crashed. And I picked up on that a lot, like this past year, just because I've been crashing so often, and like I've been squeezing the bike a lot more with my legs and trying to not let my upper body do the work. It's more of my lower body.
Mm-hmm.
And just that's mainly what I've been focusing on, just trying to have the perfect technique.
It's
it's been working.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that you've got to have the injury and the crash moment to figure that stuff out sometimes, isn't it? Like you wish you could know that before you lost, before you broke a leg or in my case lost a spleen, so.
Right.
Disappointing, but anyway. So how's everything then with the setup on the PRMX bike? You've got that whole white gear going on this year. What brand is that stuff that you guys are wearing this year for the team?
It's called OGs. They started off as a goggle company, but now they're starting to do like riding gear and pretty nice stuff. Like I like it. It fits me pretty well. Like I'm a taller rider. I'm 6'3", and it fits me pretty well. So
Nice.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like the gear. So
It's very like the
flexes
team
a lot.
pictures. It stands out pretty good with all that white setup. So yeah, is that what you're running for A1, or have you got a different colorway going on?
I'm not 100% sure what we're gonna run yet. Julien, the team owner, he's got some stuff coming in for A1. So we got a few different colorways.
Yep.
With the PRMX on it.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see.
Nice.
But I got a white set and a black set that I got right now that I might wear. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, cool. Yep. But no, that white set definitely stood out in those team pictures, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
sick.
what's the expectations coming in the Anaheim one here? We're looking to obviously make main event at some point, but is that the first goal for you, or where are you looking at?
Well, considering my last season, I didn't even end up making a night show.
Okay.
That's kind of my goal right now, but it should be easy. There's only 56 dudes signed up,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm feeling pretty fast. So night show should be walk in the park, but I think main events might start coming along maybe later in the season, just as I get more experience and
Yeah, sure.
become a little bit faster.
Yeah, well, look, obviously that's always the main end goal, isn't it, for everybody, is to be in that main event. But yeah, to get through to all that takes a bit of luck sometimes as well as a bit of effort. So yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
what? A good start for sure.
You're staying in California for the first 4 rounds, like 4 weeks or so, or is that where you're basing yourself, or what's the plan here for this season?
Yeah, I've been staying at my team owner's house lately. He rented an Airbnb, and he's in Temecula.
Nice.
And he just rented a motorhome for his mechanic, so I'm going to stay with him for a day or two. And then I have a buddy in Menifee. He's got like a training facility kind of, but he's got some rooms, and then I'll stay there for a couple days and, just keep going through wherever and go ride different tracks and explore California.
Get to live that West Coast lifestyle, mate.
Yeah.
Enjoy all the traffic while you're there too. So.
Oh man, it's crazy out here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a scenery change for everybody that's never been there. So yeah, it's a bit of an eye opener, especially the traffic when there's like 7 lanes both ways and they're all jam stopped. So it's fun.
Yeah,
fun times.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Well, look, man. Look, we appreciate you joining us on the AlwaysMoto podcast, and hopefully A1 goes well for you, and we're keeping an eye out and see if that main event turns up, rather quickly for you.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it's cool talking to you. Are you going to be at A1, or are you just going to watch?
No, I'll be watching. Unfortunately, with that injury that I said about from a few months ago, I'm still having recovery process. I actually just got about 3 weeks ago. I got some hardware out of my hip, so I'm immobile at present. Yeah. So I'm on the reserve list. I won't be going anywhere. And but yeah, hoping to be at a few things later in the year. So we'll see how my recovery goes. I just got to get a bit more mobile. You can't get around the pits and do media interviews when you're on crutches. It just slows you down too much.
Yeah, it definitely sucks.
Yeah. So. No, but we'll be out there later in the year, so we'll hopefully maybe catch up with you then. But yeah, appreciate you having some time for us on the podcast, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Caden Amrine, riding for Monster Energy, Lucas Oil, KTM, Team Tata Racing, and you're listening to the AlwaysMoto podcast.
All right, guys and girls, that was a great interview there with Julien Benek of Team PRMX. All right, that's it for this week's show. Hopefully your A1 fantasy team goes really well, or actually, I hope it goes really poorly so that mine goes really well and beats everybody. But we'll see what happens, including, I just wanted to beat Benny's, to be honest. So we can have bragging rights here over the AlwaysMoto Contractor. Thanks for listening, guys and girls. Episode 41 is done. Don't forget to send us your T-shirt orders to our email, alwaysmoto2019@gmail.com. Follow us on social media for up-to-date info on all things injury in moto. Search AlwaysMoto and then follow and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed so that you can keep up to date with all of the episodes that we're going to be putting out over the next few weeks across this Supercross or SuperMotocross series that's coming up here in 2023. If your podcast app allows, please leave us a rating. It helps us to be front and center of those podcasts and help more listeners find us eventually. Don't forget you can check out all of our written content over on fullnoise.com.au. But that's it for another show. Thanks to Polar Australia. Thanks to Slantboard Guy. Thanks to all the fantasy companies that are involved as well. Coastal Motorcycle Centre, Goat Brand MX, Thor Australia, Michelin Australia, Ringmaster Images, and Helltech Australia. But that's it for another show. Remember, you got to be smooth to be fast, because if you're not, I'll probably be seeing you deep in the emergency department, maybe even the clinic, having strapping tape thrown wherever it sticks. Good luck at A1, everybody.